Introduction to the story. In a quiet residential area, an unexpected event begins a touching story. A stray mother dog, visibly exhausted and malnourished, brings her three small puppies to the garden of an unfamiliar house. The backyard of Rebecca Owens, a woman who lives on a peaceful street, becomes the setting for an unexpected encounter between an animal family and a human. The mother dog, who seems on the brink of desperation, approaches this unknown place, seeking shelter and food for her puppies. This action will trigger a series of events that will challenge Rebecca's perceptions of stray animals and teach her about compassion and trust. The first encounter. Rebecca, who is in her house having coffee in the morning, is surprised to see some movement outside the kitchen window. When she looks, she sees a thin dog, showing obvious signs of malnutrition, crouched under the eaves of her shed. The dog seems cautious but not aggressive, and for a moment, Rebecca wonders whether she should approach or not. Her concern grows when she sees that the dog is not alone. Behind it, three small puppies emerge, looking weak and scared. The puppies, with their bright eyes full of fear and curiosity, slowly venture into the garden, which unsettles Rebecca as she has never seen these animals in the neighborhood. Rebecca's initial reaction. Rebecca feels a mix of surprise, concern, and compassion as she observes the condition of these animals. The mother dog appears to be completely exhausted, with ribs visible, and her puppies, though small and vulnerable, are clearly malnourished. The situation sparks a strong desire in Rebecca to help, but she is unsure how to do so in the best way. Despite her doubts, she decides to carefully open the back door and gently call the dogs. She is aware that, although the mother dog is wary, her hunger might overcome her fear of humans. The first act of trust. Cautiously, the mother dog watches Rebecca as she places a small bowl of water and some dog food in the yard. The mother seems hesitant, but at the same time, she is drawn to the food. The tension in the air is palpable, as any sudden movement could scare her off and make her flee with her puppies. However, the mother dog's hunger and thirst seem to be stronger than her fear, and she slowly moves toward the bowl, guided by the scent of sustenance. This shy but significant act marks the beginning of a relationship based on trust, which will be tested as the story progresses. The approach to the food. As the mother dog approaches, Rebecca crouches down to avoid scaring her and remains completely still. The dog hesitates for a moment, but eventually approaches the bowl cautiously. The gesture is fragile and filled with distrust, and Rebecca almost feels the mother's fear. With Rebecca's help, the mother dog begins to lap up the water and slowly eat, and little by little, the puppies, seeing their mother eat, also come closer to feed. Although still cautious, they no longer seem to see Rebecca as a threat. This marks an important step for them, the acceptance of help from a human, who until then had been a stranger. Rebecca's observation. As she watches the dogs eat, Rebecca is overwhelmed by compassion. The puppies, though emaciated, seem to be no more than a few weeks old. Their thin bodies and ragged coats are clear signs that they have not received proper care. The mother dog, who looks just as malnourished, stays alert, constantly watching Rebecca as her puppies devour the food. Rebecca wonders how they ended up in her garden. Is this the first place the mother dog has found some safety? Or, she wonders, is it just pure coincidence? The neighbors' reactions. The news of the dogs in Rebecca's garden spreads quickly through the neighborhood. Some neighbors, concerned about the presence of stray animals, suggest she call animal control. Others, like Mrs. Turner, warn that stray dogs can be unpredictable, even with puppies, and could attack. However, Rebecca cannot reconcile this warning with what she has just seen. The dog family doesn't seem dangerous. On the contrary, they seem vulnerable and in need of help. With this in mind, she decides to contact a local rescue group instead of calling the authorities. The decision to contact a rescue group. Rebecca contacts Sarah, a volunteer from the rescue group. She tells her about the situation and explains that the dogs seem to be malnourished, but the mother dog has allowed her to approach them without showing aggression. Although the mother seems distrustful, Rebecca has been able to get close to her without being rejected, which gives her hope. Sarah suggests that Rebecca continue offering food and water at regular intervals to keep earning the mother's trust. She also advises that Rebecca try to create a safe space in the yard for them before attempting a closer approach. Planning the rescue. Following Sarah's advice, Rebecca begins looking for materials to create an improvised shelter in the yard. She finds an old wooden crate and some tarps that she can use to provide some protection from the wind and rain. She also places soft towels inside to make it more comfortable for the mother dog and her puppies to rest. As the days go by, the bond between Rebecca and the dogs continues to strengthen. The mother dog, who was extremely wary at first, now appears more relaxed when she sees Rebecca. The puppies, for their part, begin to approach with more confidence, playing among themselves and wagging their tails when they see Rebecca, building an improvised shelter. Rebecca, feeling a growing responsibility for the dog's safety, decides to build a shelter for them in a corner of the yard under the overhang of the shed. This space will provide them with a safe refuge from the cold and rain. The mother dog and her puppies, upon seeing the shelter and the food bowl placed nearby, approach more quickly than before. The mother, although still cautious, seems more relaxed upon seeing her family has a place to rest. The puppies, without hesitation, settle next to their mother, curling up in the warm shelter that Rebecca has created for them. Gradual acceptance of the dogs. As the days go by, the bond between Rebecca and the dog family continues to grow. The puppies, who initially kept their distance from Rebecca, begin to come closer, even trying to nibble on her shoelaces or play with her. Although the mother dog remains cautious, she shows less fear and aggression toward Rebecca. She no longer runs away or hides when she sees her, though she is still alert. Rebecca, for her part, remains patient, respecting the mother's pace and making sure not to make any sudden movements that might scare her. Despite the progress, the mother still shows signs of anxiety, especially if anyone approaches too quickly. Security challenges in the yard. Although the dogs seem calmer, Rebecca begins to worry about the puppy's safety. These small, increasingly active and curious pups might try to escape through gaps in the fence. Additionally, Mrs. Turner and other neighbors continue to suggest that the dogs might become dangerous if they feel threatened. Rebecca is also growing more concerned about the costs of veterinary care, as it is clear the dogs will need vaccinations and deworming, which could be expensive. While the rescue group has offered to help, resources are limited, and Rebecca knows she must act quickly to ensure a long-term plan for the dog family. Health issues with the mother. One day, Rebecca notices that the mother dog is limping. As she cautiously approaches, she discovers an open wound on her back leg. The wound seems to have been caused by a scratch or perhaps a scuffle with another stray dog. The mother, feeling the touch of Rebecca, shudders, and her fear of humans becomes more evident. Rebecca is terrified at the possibility that the wound could become infected and that the mother might not be able to care for her puppies. In that moment, Rebecca realizes how serious the situation is and how much she depends on her to ensure this family's survival. Rebecca's responsibility. With the discovery of the wound, Rebecca feels an enormous weight in her heart. She is no longer just feeding and caring for the dogs. She has now become their protector. Through their eyes, Rebecca sees the suffering and desperation, and she knows that she cannot let this mother dog and her puppy suffer any longer. She is willing to do whatever it takes to save them, even if it means overcoming the mother's distrust and seeking professional help. In this moment, Rebecca understands that her life has become intertwined with that of this dog family, and that no matter what happens, she will not abandon them. Contacting Sarah. Concerned about the condition of the mother dog, Rebecca contacts Sarah from the rescue group to discuss what has happened. She explains that the wound is serious and fears that it could become infected, putting the health of the mother and the puppies at risk. Together, they decide that the best option is to call an emergency veterinarian who can treat the mother without putting her puppies in danger. Rebecca, though nervous, feels a bit relieved knowing that there is a plan in place to help the mother dog. Planning the veterinary intervention. Sarah and Rebecca come up with a plan to sedate the mother dog safely and allow the veterinarian to treat her wound. The procedure will take place in Rebecca's yard to minimize the stress on the mother dog and keep the puppies nearby. Rebecca feels a bit overwhelmed, but she is determined to do whatever it takes to help the mother dog. With Sarah's help, they gather the necessary resources to ensure that the intervention is as least traumatic as possible. The support of the community. As the situation progresses, the neighbors begin to change their attitudes. At first, many were concerned about the presence of the stray dogs, but seeing how Rebecca is dedicated to caring for them, they start offering their help. Mrs. Turner, who had initially suggested calling animal control, now offers to watch the puppies while Rebecca takes the mother dog to the veterinarian. Other neighbors offer to donate dog food and materials for the improvised shelter. Rebecca, seeing this supportive attitude, feels deeply grateful and understood. The challenge of sedation. On the day of the intervention, the mother dog remains extremely cautious. The sedation process is not easy. Although Rebecca has gained some of her trust, the mother dog still feels threatened. It takes more time than expected to get the mother dog calm enough for the sedation to be applied. Despite the difficulties, the procedure is eventually successful, though the mother dog remains a bit confused and nervous when she wakes up. The final challenge to save the mother. After several hours of work, the mother dog's wound is treated. While it's not completely healed, she has received the necessary care to prevent infection. Rebecca and Sarah feel relieved, but they also know there is still much to be done to ensure the mother dog fully recovers and that the puppies grow strong and healthy. Conclusion and hope. The successful treatment of the mother dog marks a new beginning for this family. Although she remains cautious and somewhat distant, she is no longer as terrified as she once was. The puppies, now more active, continue to grow with their mother's protection. Rebecca, for her part, feels more connected to this family than ever before. Although there are still challenges ahead, hope is stronger than ever. The dog family has found a refuge and a home where trust and love can flourish. The story of these animals, so vulnerable and in need, ends on a hopeful note.